Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Wanted to give you some updates on some roots here. This is my little star Phal, and look at how this leaf is growing. This root is growing, and are you ready? Look at this. Look at how much it has grown. Since I started showing you this in 2.5 weeks, these have all just taken off in this wonderful orchid premium grade moss. Wow. Okay, here's an update on my little intensity mini. It's still just a little bit wet from where I was doing some foliar feeding this morning. I have noticed that I'm giving it more wet dry cycles during the week, and the roots are growing. The leaf that was kind of stalled there for a while, it started growing again. So what I'm doing is every other day, I'm letting her spend a day out of her water culture water. So she's enjoying more of a semi-water culture now, kind of an every other day water culture method. So that's what this one's doing, and it's really coming along very nicely. And here's Buddy Orchid, and there's Buddy in the background. There's my little buddy. Okay, check this out. The roots. Yes, and I noticed this morning that that root that's crossing over has actually reached the other side of the cup. You can't see it yet, but you will in a few days. So that's how this one is doing. I'm just really, really happy with the results of this as well. The power of foliar feeding. I do foliar feed early in the morning, and I can tell a big difference in my orchids when I do the foliar feeding. What I do is I either use a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of Epsom salts in 1 gallon of 6.0 pH water, and I spray it on the leaves in the morning, or I take my fertilizer, which is, right now it's about 1/4 of a teaspoon of 20-14-13. I've raised it just a little tiny bit in 1 gallon of 6.0 pH water. And I will foliar feed with that as well. And I can just see them grow every time I do that. It's a really good thing to do. Okay, what you see here is my Cattleya, the latest growth, and it has definitely outdone all the previous year's growth. Wow. Look at how huge that growth is. And there's the second cane that has come out on this one. This morning, I actually decided to bump up the fertilizer level on this one just a little bit because it is growing so fast. These canes are just, I'm really pleased with the way that these canes are growing. So I bumped it up just a little bit, about a half a teaspoon of 20-14-13 in 1 gallon 6.0 pH water. When you see a lot of rapid root growth or cane development in your Cattleya, that's when you need to bump up your fertilizer just a little bit, and it'll help these canes to come out really nice and pretty and green. Another thing that I do for my Cattleya is about once a week, I spray down the foliage with this. It helps keep the black spot away, and it greens up the plant. It's amazing. That's the reason why it's just smiling today, because it's very, very happy. Wow. Beautiful plant. I'm so proud of this one. What I'm showing you here is Dendrobium Roots. These have taken off. Just taken off. All of them have new canes. They're about to mature fully. They're about to get to be the size of the previous year. Like this one right here. Do you see how much this one has grown in just a week? Look at that. That's amazing. The root growth on this one, this was a basil kiki. Honorable mention here. This one has really, really done well. And here's this little miniature dendrobium this root growth, and the canes have grown very, very nicely. So I'm really happy. They like it out here on this in this sun porch. They're really doing well. I've seen a big difference since I moved them out here. And here's an update on Phal legato and Baldwin's kaleidoscope. The roots on these have just taken off. There is algae growing in the bottom of this one, and I have seen a huge turnaround in the roots of this plant. Look at the roots. They just keep going. So this one is very happy. Also, legato. Some of you have been asking me, when I change out my water, do I take the plant out of the vase every time? Well, used to that was an easy thing for me to do. They would just pop right out of the vase. But now I'm having to keep them in the vase, drain the water in another container and save it so that I can just refill it later that night after it's had a dry day once a week that I give them. And these roots are like cementing themselves now inside the vases. There's been just so much root growth. I'm not going to be taking them out of the vases anymore because I had a really hard time getting Phal legato back in her home the other day. So that's a good sign. That means there's a lot of root growth going on. And I thought I'd end today on using reflective surfaces in the winter around your orchids. A lot of people are talking about moving their orchids back inside. And one of the reasons why I chose reflective surfaces in my sunroom was because it does help reflect the light. That is one reason why I chose these materials for this room. When I was growing inside the house during the winter, I would actually use mirrors around my orchids. I would place my orchids in front of mirrored surfaces, and that really helped bring in some dispersed light to them during the colder, dark winter months. So I just thought I would just share that with you because it really did help pull them through the winter a lot. And another thing that really helps you get through the winter is ceiling fans. They will disperse the heat evenly through the room so that you don't have cold spots in your room. It's really sad when you put an orchid somewhere in your room and it's got something directly blowing on it, and sometimes, like what happened with me, you burn your roots just from all that excess heat. Ceiling fans will help keep that at a minimum. It really does help disperse the heat through the room evenly. Another question I'm asked a lot about winter months is, how low is the lowest temperature that you should grow your water culture orchids in? I don't let my room get below 68 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's just been my rule, and I've not had any problems with it, so that's what I'm staying with because that's what works for me. So I think I've answered a bunch of questions today. If you have any other questions, please feel free to ask. I enjoy your all's kind comments so very much. I appreciate you all watching so much. And you all be highly favored, deeply loved, and greatly blessed. And we'll talk to you soon.